Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. So good. Here we go. All right, here we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Happy Hour Network special, the recap or the off-season edition of our Cleveland Cavaliers. Of course, I'm your host, Don P. Pizzle, Pod God, all those good things. Um, Thank you guys for tuning in to last night's NBA Conference Finals preview. On top of tonight, I also this Thursday have just regular plain old award nominated Club Pizzle this Thursday at 8. I have a few things that I want to talk about that I'll touch on that I'm still putting together. And don't forget this Saturday, y'all are gonna get a double dip. Y'all are gonna get Pizzle's picks, WWE Premium Live Event King and Queen of the Ring edition. And y'all are going to get a recap of that show after everything is over with, after the Premium Live event, after the press conference. So just be ready for that. We got a lot. We got a lot going. We got a lot that I'm going to be doing here at the Happy Hour Network. I hopefully have a few announcements to make for you guys in the upcoming future. It's just some things that I'm working out. It's just some things that I'm thinking through. I brainstorm out in the open sometimes if y'all check me out on my Facebook page. So y'all will see that. But before I get to it, thank you guys for y'all's votes. And me being nominated in Scene Magazine for Best Sports Podcast. I thank you guys for that. Thank you. Thank you to y'all that supported me there. The results come out June 5th, so I'm gonna be sitting on my hands. But in the meantime, I think I'm just gonna pod my way through all of this stuff, man. It's a week from now, or it's 2 weeks from now. So y'all know what it is, man. But again, thank you guys for y'all support there. Now, let's get to the reason why we are here. Cleveland Cavaliers off season. Now, as I stated on Club Pizzle the other day, the Cleveland Cavaliers finished at 48-34. That was good enough to get them the number 4 seed in the Eastern Conference in a very cluttered Eastern Conference because Orlando was a game behind. Indiana, Philadelphia, they were a game behind. Like 4 through 7 could have went, or 4 through 8 could have went many a ways. But the Cavs ended up at 48-34, got the 4 seed, beat the 5th seed of Orlando Magic, tough Orlando Magic team 4-3, and they lost to the Boston Celtics in 5, 4-1. I summed it up last week. I was not as mad as I thought I was going to be. Now, if they would have lost the Orlando series in 7 games, because I ain't going to lie to y'all, I was starting to do some show prep there and starting to write or just not write, but just put together my thoughts there. That would have been crazy. It was, it would have been nice to, it would have been, y'all to heard me go crazy. Just see the 444 episode of Club Pizzle. It would have been somewhere along those lines. It would have been brace yourself. It's the main event. Y'all know what it is. But there are a few questions coming into this off season. I'm gonna try to answer those to the best of my ability. Thank you guys for sending in your concerns. There weren't questions. A lot of times there were a few comments, but there were some concerns. The biggest concern, there are 2 glaring concerns when it comes to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're like 1-1A. I can't put one of them over the other, but for the sake of this podcast and for the sake of this show and for the sake of this content, I'm just gonna start at the top. JB Bickerstaff, is his job in jeopardy? Is he going to get fired? Is he going to come back? That is the big elephant in the room. They stated that they were going to take a long look at JB. As y'all know, JB he took over for John Beilein after John Beilein made some very asinine comments. In 2021? Whenever. But 2022, at the end of 2022, they get into the play-in. They lose both games. They lose to Brooklyn and they lose to Atlanta. And that was with the supersized lineup with Garland and Sexton. And then you had Markkanen, Mobley, and Allen. That team did pretty good. They looked pretty good. They did, like, if you look at the pattern of this team for the last 3 years, December and January is when this team seems to play its best basketball. They get to that February, mid-February, all-star break point, and they have a little bit of a swing. That's kind of a consistent thing that goes on with the Cavaliers. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but it does seem like December, January, and going into the all-star break, this team is cooking. And then they get towards the end of the season, and they have a little tail off. But I remember 22, they were rolling, and Mobley got hurt, and they kind of took a dive, and they fell back into the play-in when they lost to Brooklyn, and they lost to Atlanta. 2023, last year, Donovan Mitchell's first year. You trade for Donovan Mitchell. You were excited. We're excited. This team is balling. Like, they had a great stretch. They got the 50 wins. They got the 4 seed, and they lose to the New York Knicks in a gentleman's sweep in the first round. They got punked by the New York Knicks. So go to this the next offseason or this past summer, you bring in Max Strus, you bring in Georges Niang, you sign Sam Merrill off of the Cleveland Charge to they convert his deal over to a strictly NBA deal. You had guys like Craig Porter Jr., who I believe played like 4 games in the G League before he got his contract converted over to a full NBA contract. And this team was dead in the water, or so we thought was dead in the water, when Evan Mobley and Darius Garland both went down in the same day. Remember, they put out a joint statement that both of these guys were going to be out. Mobley with a knee and Garland with his face broken or broken jaw. And this team proceeded to go 17-1. And I can remember at that time where I looked at JB and said, if he don't get it together, he's going to lose his job. I think that 17-1 saved his job for the time being. And then the all-star break, they got to the all-star break, and they had a bad second half. Mitchell had the injection in his knee, and he missed most of the second half. Mobley went down again. We lost Strus. You lost Dean Wade. Garland's head wasn't right. Like, he was getting back, but he had a death in the family, which I know bothered him mentally. And can't nobody tell me anything different about that. I'm going to leave the whole Darius Garland thing alone for now, because I have some things that I do want to discuss and talk about there. But if y'all are going to ask me about JB Bickerstaff, I think him getting this team to the second round bought him at least the first 2 months of the season, or at least up until the new year, or close to or that's my opinion. I think him getting to the second round bought them that. But here's my question. If JB Bickerstaff is let go, who's the replacement? somebody has to tell me. Everybody talks about Mark Jackson. Let me give y'all a quick news flash on Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson is not coming back. Mark Jackson has not coached in the NBA in 10 years. There's only one coach, maybe two coaches that I know that came back after 10 years and had some success. Pat Riley was one, and Hubie Brown was the other one. I don't know any coach who hasn't coached in 10 years. He hasn't had a fucking interview in 10 years. For whatever reason that we feel like isn't right, he hasn't been interviewed. He hasn't had interviews. He enjoyed his TV job. He no longer holds that TV job at ESPN. He now has a podcast, which is a awesome podcast, if I do say so myself. Shout out to Cam and Mace for putting him on and getting him that and giving us people something to enjoy. Like I said, I love Mark Jackson just like you guys, but Mark Jackson is not coaching the Cleveland Cavaliers. I hate to break it to you. Frank Vogel fired after 1 year. Budenholzer would have been ideal. I don't think Vogel. No. Who else is out there to go get, y'all? I'm asking y'all. Do you go and get JJ Redick, who might end up being a damn good coach? Do you go to Ty Lue's staff and pull Sam Cassell? Do you go get Adrian Griffin? Nate McMillan? I'm just naming off these names, and I know y'all saying no, no, no. So who the fuck are y'all gonna go and get? Because it's sure not gonna be Mark Jackson. I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but it is my job and it is my duty as a responsible podcaster to let you know he ain't coming back. Because if he was, he'd have came back already. It's been 10 years, y'all. Let it go. Mark Jackson is not coming. So I think by default, he's here and his coaching staff. He has some guys on his coaching staff. Luke Walton is on his coaching staff. Could he be that replacement? If they want to think outside of the box, would they bring Mike Garrity up? I mean, it worked for the Raptors when they brought Nick Nurse up to the from the 905 Raptors to the Toronto Raptors. That worked. But things like that don't work all the time. So y'all tell me, because it's not Mark Jackson, all these names I just named off. Vogel, no. Darvin Ham, no. Who else did I say? Nate McMillan, no. Sam Cassell, JJ Redick, Steve Nash, Who y'all gonna get? Because it's not Mark Jackson. Moving on. It has been reported that Dan Gilbert is going to take on a bigger role in these decisions, and I do not like that one bit. And I'm not saying that because Dan Gilbert still has me blocked on X. That's not the reason I'm saying that. I'm saying that because since Dan Gilbert has taken the back seat and paid guys and let guys do their jobs, and look at how they built it. Look at how Kobe Altman built this team from December of 2018 when LeBron James left for the second time. You draft Sexton. You draft Garland. You draft Okoro. You draft Mobley. You trade for Jared Allen. You trade for Donovan Mitchell. You bring in Lauri Markkanen, who is an all-star caliber player. Maybe not in Cleveland, not in this system that he was. He was the third or fourth option in this system, but that was an all-star player. You traded him away. You bring in Donovan Mitchell, all-star, superstar potential. Win now, move. They built it. You went lottery, play in, first round, second round. They continue to take steps. The John Beilein hiring, to me, was a bad hiring from the jump. They should have hired Bickerstaff from the word go. I'm just not a fan of these owners getting involved. Look at what it's doing in Phoenix. Look at what Ishba's doing out of Phoenix. They got bounced in the first round, and he just fired his first year fucking coach to bring in Mike Budenholzer. The roster is still the roster. You still got 3 max players. One guy who in Bradley Beal who didn't play well this year. Maybe it was him coming off of an injury, and maybe him healthy next year if he's fully healthy. Maybe this team has a better showing. But let me tell you something. Those young guns in the West, look at the Minnesota Timberwolves conference finals. Look at the Oklahoma City Thunder conference semifinals. The Denver Nuggets, the defending champions who just got bounced, are still the Denver Nuggets. Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, the Dallas Mavericks, they still are who they are. The Los Angeles Clippers, top to bottom, has one of the most talented rosters in the NBA. And do not let me forget, the Oklahoma City Thunder has like 15 draft picks in the next 4 years. So you know they're going to do something with that. The Golden State Warriors are still the Golden State Warriors. They may not be top tier 1, 2, 3, whatever, but that team still might make the playoffs, and that team is still going to make necessary moves to bring in right guys to put around Steph Curry and Jonathan Kuminga, who's probably going to be their next building block. So don't y'all tell me an owner getting involved in this shit or Dan Gilbert getting involved is going to help the Cleveland Cavaliers. If anything, it's going to drive Koby Altman out of the door. He's going to not want to be here, or he's going to end up being the scapegoat because the owner decided to come down and meddle and not let him do his job. That's just how I feel. Again, this is not because Dan Gilbert has me blocked on X still. It's been 12 years. I don't even give a fuck no more. It's been 14 years. I'm sorry. I don't even care anymore. I'm just saying it's not a good idea for him to get involved. Y'all don't like meddling owners in Cleveland, remember? Y'all hated Jimmy Haslam. And y'all see what Jimmy Haslam did. Jimmy Haslam is in the background. He is paying all of those guys down at Cleveland Brown Stadium to do their jobs, and they are doing an absolute fantastic job. So, Dan, just sit back and let Koby work and let Mike Gansey work. Please and thank you. Now, the biggest things, or let's just get to it, man. The Cavs are above the salary cap. They're above the cap, but they're below the luxury tax, and it's probably about 13 to 15 million-ish or so. I don't know if the cap is going to move. We're not due for another cap explosion, maybe for another 2 years or so. So we'll just have to see about that. The Cavs have 11 players under contract. Tristan Thompson, Damian Jones, and Marcus Morris Sr. are the free agents, but everybody else will be back. Garland, or everybody else is under contract. Garland, Mitchell, Allen, Mobley, LeVert, Strus, Niang. Sam Merrill's deal is non-guaranteed. Craig Porter Jr.'s deal is non-guaranteed. I believe Ty Jerome is still under contract. Isaiah Mobley, Imani Bates, Pete Nance are all two-way guys. And I'm expecting them to bring those guys back, or at least bring Imani Bates back. I would not be mad at Isaiah Mobley actually getting time. I believe he might be ready to get some minutes with the Cavs. I thought they would have done it this year, but bringing in Niang and bringing in Strus and having Dean Wade still here. Dean Wade is another guy still under contract. And having him here, that, it gives them a chance to let him develop. I've watched Isaiah Mobley for 2 years down with the Cleveland Charge. I'm a season ticket holder there. So I know what he can do. I know his abilities, and there's a possibility that he can help. I'll just throw this tidbit out there. The Minnesota Timberwolves are in the Western Conference Finals this year. I think 11 of the guys on that roster spent time in the G League. Just let that breathe there. Above the cap, below the luxury tax. They had the 20th pick in the draft. Nobody gives a fuck about that draft pick. This is not a good draft. I'm still trying to get to know the top guys in that draft. The biggest thing, the number one priority this offseason is Donovan Mitchell. That's the other big deal with JB. Is JB coming back? The biggest thing to do, or the biggest priority, number one priority, the one thing that they should be working on is extending Donovan Mitchell. He is up to sign. He has 2 years left on his deal, but he can tear it up and sign a 4-year, $208 million max deal. The negotiations start June 30th for that. He can sign it on July 6th if they negotiate it. I believe at what I think it's 3:00 on June 30th, when that free agent mortuarium opens, by 3:45, Donovan Mitchell will remain a Cleveland Cavalier. I'll get to the other part of that in a minute. But Evan Mobley is also up for a max extension. I believe it's a max extension. It's like a 5-year, 208 or something. It's like a 5-year, $200 and something million deal. So lock those guys up. Extend Mitchell, get Mobley in long term. Isaac Okoro is up for a contract as a restricted free agent. There's an $11 million qualifying offer that the Cavs can sign him to, but they're saying that there's a possibility that Okoro can get $13 million on the market. Somebody can sign him to that if they want to. We can get see what the compensation is with that, because he is restricted. Now, the big thing has been going on. Another one of the big things that has been going on is if Mitchell is extended, Darius Garland may ask to be traded. Clutch, he's represented by Clutch Sports. That's Rich Paul and them. Shout out to Rich. If Garland is moved, where do you trade him? Who needs a point guard? And who has what we want in return? Because you're going to have to match salaries. There's going to have to be another big salary guy. If the New Orleans Pelicans are involved, if I have to trade Darius Garland, now listen, I am a huge Darius Garland fan. I love Darius Garland. I was the one who, when in his rookie year, I say I like this guy more than I like that little guard. And the little guard was Colin Sexton. I say that to say, if I can trade Darius Garland and get Brandon Ingram in return, because that's who it's going to have to be. It's not going to be CJ McCollum. It's not. I know he's Canton boy. He's a big Browns fan. He's a local kid, but it's not going to be CJ. It's going to have to be Brandon Ingram. If y'all want DG, give me Brandon Ingram and give me Dyson Daniel. New Orleans. Memphis really don't need him because they have Ja. And I'm still a Ja Morant guy. Ja Morant jersey this summer loading. But who on that team? Desmond Bane. I take Bane. Big guard. Mitchell can play the point. He plays the point. They were 17-1 when he played the point. You know? Miami really don't have what we want. I don't want Tyler Hero. Even though he culture. Okay. I'm looking up and down the line, man. I don't think teams in the Eastern Conference will want to do anything. The Charlotte Hornets, give me Miles Bridges, y'all. I'm sorry. Miles Bridges, I've been screaming about Miles Bridges for the last 2 years. He's perfect for this team. He's tailor-made for the Cleveland Cavaliers as a player. Now, it's off the court thing. That's something else we know. But he's made for – he's a perfect fit for this team. The Lakers, no. Phoenix don't got what we want. Oh, wait, I mean, maybe Cam Reddish. I love Cam Reddish. I'm still on that. the Lakers wouldn't trade. I think D'Angelo Russell's a free agent anyway. The Lakers wouldn't trade Garland for Russell. And besides, I believe the Lakers would want Donovan Mitchell. That brings us to Jarrett Allen. They're going to lose. I'm going to just tell you the team. Brooklyn, excuse me, Brooklyn is going to lose their big man. His name escapes me right now. I'm going to remember it. Nicholas Claxton. They're going to lose him. So if I got to make a move, because the Cavaliers, this roster really isn't bad. We just need some guys who can make some shots. There's a few guys over with the Nets that can make some shots. It's just not enough basketballs, and it's just not enough minutes for them over there. Oh, Jacques Vaughn is another one of those guys. You gonna replace? You take him over JB? Probably fucking not. But it's two Cams, Mikal Bridges. It's a few of them guys over there in Brooklyn that I take. Say, hey, Jared, you want to go back to Brooklyn, baby? Like I said, I love Mikal Bridges. I'm a huge Mikal Bridges fan. And it has to be because the salaries have to match. I love Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges is 3-and-D. That's your 3-and-D guy. Even though Isaac Okoro is that 3-and-D guy too, as well. But I'll take Mikal Bridges. I'll take Cam Thomas. I'll take Cam Johnson from the Brooklyn Nets. What else do we have here? I think that's it. Oh. I almost forgot. Let's talk about it since it's been a big deal. LeBron and Bronny. Would they draft Bronny at 20? Probably not. Listen. I think Bronny James is going to be a good pro. I think he's going to be all right as a pro. They play 8 to 10 years. Kid will be all right. He's not worth the 20th pick, even though this draft isn't the greatest draft. I don't think LeBron James would sign the mid-level exception to come to Cleveland. I still feel like he don't fuck with Dan Gilbert. When he came back, we all know, like you see what the coming home letter said. I'm coming home. He don't give a fuck about Dan Gilbert. We never really saw in the 4 years when LeBron came back, we never really saw him and Dan do anything. Even during the championship celebration, we really didn't see anything with those two. I don't think he signed here for the mid-level exception. I'm trying to wrap my head, and I don't want to go too far on this ledge. I don't want to get y'all gassed up. I don't want to gas myself up. But the idea of having Mitchell with LeBron James and the emerging Evan Mobley. Listen, Mitchell can run the point. You can put Strus in Okoro or LeVert or however they're going to do it. I mean, well, bringing in LeBron would mean Okoro gone. Bye. See ya. But you give me Mitchell and Strus in the backcourt. Karis LeVert at the 3. Or you go get somebody on the lower end of Royce O'Neal. Or you're trading Jarrett Allen and you're bringing in Cam Thomas with LeBron James and Evan Mobley. You got George Niang off the bench. You got Dean Wade off the bench. You got Sam Merrill off the bench. You can go with a youth movement off your bench. Maybe Imani Bates is ready next year. You can bring him in. You got Craig Porter as your backup point guard. LeBron is going to play a lot of point guard. I don't want to gas y'all. I'm just going to throw it. I'm just throwing it out there. And again, I don't think it's financially possible. But if Kobe Altman wants to do it, I believe Kobe Altman could do it. I don't want to get too excited about it. I know a lot of y'all are like LeBron. He showed up at the game. A lot of people are excited about that. Me, not so much. I'd rather him sign a one-day contract and retire instead of signing a 1 year, 2 year deal, however many more years he has to play. That's let me get to some of y'all questions, comments, and concerns. One of my guys, D'Anthony Twin, his concern is Evan Mobley getting in the weight room and him getting at least one go-to move. Listen, he put on like 10 pounds, like 7 to 10 pounds last offseason. I'm expecting him to put on another 10 maybe this offseason. The weight is going to come. Evan Mobley is 22 years old, 21, 22 years old. He's going to grow into that body. He's going to get stronger. And if the Boston series is any indication of what he's going to be, we're going to be just fine, y'all. Okay. The post moves will come. The moves will come. I think it's coming. I'm a huge Evan Mobley advocate. I am going to rock with Evan until he's no longer here. Chris Bleak, shout out to Chris Bleak, asked me, do I think he's coming back? I don't think he's coming back, but you heard the scenario I just threw out there. The possibilities are there. I personally don't think he is. I think he's going to re-sign with the Lakers, and the Lakers are going to draft Bronny. That's what I think is going to happen. He's going to finish up out there, and hopefully he signs a one-day contract to retire in Cleveland. Let me see what else. The concern is getting the right guy so Mitchell stays. This is Nancy. Shout out to Nancy. My concern is getting the right guy so Mitchell stays. Does that mean trading Garland and Allen? It looks that way. And I believe that's probably what's going to happen. One or both. Jarrett Allen and Darius Garland are going to be traded. One might get moved in the offseason and one might get moved before the deadline. But like I said, for Darius Garland, I got to get something. I know his trade value is low, but his contract is up there. So if I'm trading a big salary, I'm going to either be getting mad draft picks and a player with a big salary that I can just bring in and buy out so I can clear that cap space, or I'm getting Brandon Ingram and Dyson Daniel from New Orleans, or I'm getting a Desmond Bane or one of those young guns or those young pups from the Grizzlies, or I'm going to get Miles Bridges. Jarrett Allen, I'm looking at Brooklyn. That's the one team that I'm looking at is Brooklyn. They're saying a lot of rival teams are looking at Jarrett Allen. Which rival teams are we talking about? Is it the Indiana Pacers? Give me Miles Turner. Y'all don't want Miles Turner? We'll take him. Hey, New York Knicks, y'all don't appreciate Julius Randle, but I damn sure do. I'm just saying, y'all. They don't appreciate Julius Randle in New York. I bet you they appreciate him now that they asses is bounced from the playoffs. They didn't love him when he was playing. I hear so much shit about Julius Randle. It's just some pieces. We're just gonna have to see, man. Again, to recap, the biggest things are JB Bickerstaff. Will he be back? Won't he be back? And Donovan Mitchell. Will he extend? And again, y'all put in the comments who replaces JB if JB is fired. And it's not going to be Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson hasn't coached in 10 years, y'all. Name me a fucking coach that didn't coach for 10 years and came back and led a team to a championship. Don't say Phil Jackson, because Phil Jackson took a couple of years off, won some championships, took another couple of years off, and won some more championships. He didn't take off 10 years. All right? So just throw down in the comments below. Let me know. Is JB fired? If he's fired, who's his replacement? Please don't say Mark Jackson. I've been saying this shit all show. And does Donovan come back? And where do you trade Garland if he asks for a trade? And where do you trade Jared Allen if he asks for a trade? I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. I'll name this segment later. Make sure y'all check out the conference finals preview that I dropped yesterday. Make sure y'all tune in Thursday, 8 o'clock for Club Pizzle. Make sure y'all tune in Saturday morning at 11 o'clock for the for Pizzle's Picks King and Queen of the Ring edition. And check me out. It's probably going to be about 5 or 6 o'clock when I do my recap of the premium live event King and Queen of the Ring. So until Thursday, y'all, deuces.